I want to get a PPP loan, but I want to wait for this because this is a grant. It might be more money, and it's probably going to be a lot better for certain businesses. But you really, so should I wait, or should I wait for this, or should I go ahead and apply for a PPP loan? Because even the act of applying for the loan and being approved for it, even if you don't take the money, will make you ineligible for this grant.
Oh, wow. Let's move to another program. This one is also an SBA program. It's called the Shuttered Venue Grant Program. What can you tell us about that? And what can you tell us about when businesses will receive guidance on that program?
Well, the quick answer is I don't know. We've been told that we should expect something within the next, by the end of February. I think it'll be sooner than that.
And just to clarify, this program is for businesses that were not allowed to open because of COVID restrictions, correct?
That's correct. But there's also there's no policy on this at all. So I really, I shouldn't even comment about it a little bit. But we're all friends here, right? You can look at the regulation and you can see what the regulation says, and then there's some bare minimum requirements in the law that I think I can comment on. How it's going to manifest itself in the policy, we don't know. But one of the conditions is that 70% of your revenue has to come from ticket sales, directly tied to some sort of venue event that's happening. So something like and that's a tough bar to cross, because especially in New Orleans, a lot of businesses, I think it'll help a lot of people. But when you think of, even a movie theater, let's use that as an example. Movie theater, you think, oh, yeah, they're eligible, right? And normally they would be, but it's 70% of their revenue from ticket sales.
Right.
They make a lot of money on concessions,
Right.
Concession sales. So you can't say that 70%. So if it's a club in the city, or St. Bernard Parish or Greater New Orleans area, any place. You have a cover charge, you're coming to see a live act. But if your food and beverage sales are, greater than 30% of your total revenue, then you're not going to be eligible for this grant program. So it's something that you really have to take a look at. And I'm glad you brought this up, because one of the questions that I get a lot is, well, the provisions say that if I have a PPP loan, I'm not eligible for this one. And that's correct. According to the regulation, you can't get both. If that's true, then, so I want to get a PPP loan, but I want to wait for this because this is a grant. It might be more money, and it's probably going to be a lot better for certain businesses. But you really, so should I wait, or should I wait for this, or should I go ahead and apply for a PPP loan? Because even the act of applying for the loan and being approved for it, even if you don't take the money, will make you ineligible for this grant.
Oh, wow.
So
it's a big decision.
My advice to any venue related business would be, take a look at your revenue stream. If your revenue is less than 70% drawn from ticket sales, then don't wait. You're not going to be eligible for the program. So you got to take a look at your revenue from last year, and you have to see where that fits. And some of the policy things that we're going to see is like, where does that window start? Is it all of 2019? Is it just for March? Can you take, just like the PPP loan? Can you take just 1 quarter and of 19 and compare it to 1 quarter of 20? We don't know yet. We haven't gotten that guidance. But I would take a look at your revenue and see if you're eligible. And if you're not, well, then don't wait. I suspect it's if you're gambling on policy implementation that would go beyond what law says, that's hope against hope. We can't change the law. We can't policy away law regulatory requirements. So take a look at the law. Take a look at what the law says. 70% is a big one.
Right. And so by that definition, bars and restaurants that were forced to close for months and months on end are not going to be eligible for that because they don't sell tickets, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So this program, to me, it seems like will benefit a lot fewer businesses than, for example, the Paycheck Protection Program.
Yeah, I think so. It's and that's one of the reasons why I think they're going to go back to the drawing board and then revisit this. But again, until the PPP loan program, the EIDL advanced loan program, there was a lot of creative interpretation of policy on what the law said. I mean, it's pretty clear, so I think, and of course that was a previous administration. I don't know what the current administration is going to do, but we were doing stuff that's clearly against regulation, making this loan available to churches and religious institutions. That's clearly not legal, but the lawyers, I guess they can spin things any way they want, and they were able to make policy interpretations. There was a lot of things that the law requires us to do that we sort of discarded. So, who knows? I mean, when this policy comes out, they may, have a creative interpretation of how this is going to work. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, I can't comment on specifically, who's going to be eligible and who's not until we see the policy. Yeah, but there are things you can see in the law that would give you an idea of, what's going to be available and what isn't.
Okay, awesome. Are there any other programs besides that shuttered venue program and besides the PPP that the SBA is administering for businesses that might be affected by the pandemic?
Well, nothing new. We still have the bridge loan program. Not many lenders are participating in that, although we're continuing to work on that. We do have the program where if you had an existing SBA loan, we would pay the interest and principal on those loans for a 6-month period. That has not been extended, but that's still available to.
That's down to 3 months now and only up to $9,000 a month, correct?
That's correct, yeah. So that's still available. There have been some modifications to that, but nothing new. The venue grant program is brand new. Yeah, it's just new. We've never done anything like this before. I mean, the SBA has never given, it's one of the things that one of the things I always, a common question that I get in this job is, hey, I want to get a grant to start a business. Well, we don't have grants to businesses. We don't do that. That's not our thing. Now, of course, we have this, which is a grant to a business. And so now I have to say, we don't do grants for businesses unless, it fits in this specific category. But now that we don't really have anything new other than our normal programs and services that we offer.
One of the questions that I received when I spoke to some legislators a couple of weeks ago, I asked for questions from my entrepreneur friends and my small business owner friends. And a question that I received a couple of times was, are there any programs available if I started my business during the pandemic that basically, not that they had any decrease in revenue and anything other than the Paycheck Protection Program, but are there any programs, and you may know of them, they might not be SBA programs, that small business owners who had to pivot away from maybe a business like a restaurant or a bar that was not being allowed to open, they pivoted to a new business. Any programs to help those entrepreneurs? Any grant programs or loan programs that you know of?
Not from the SBA. I would look to EDA, look to Commerce. There may be some programs that come out from as far as there may be some grant programs that are available for that. Okay. But no, it's not anything that we have. I mean, we're not going to be And I'd be really surprised, if we did create something like that. We've never done anything like that before. But to your point, I do think that, there are, there may be some contracting opportunities, and again, nothing like this currently exists, but if the current administration follows through with what they've been saying they want to do, which is, activating the National, Defense Authorization Act, where
Right.
they direct businesses to shift their business model to produce, things that are needed to handle the pandemic. There may be some opportunities for grants through the Department of Labor or Commerce for those kinds of retooling activities. But right now, no, there's nothing like that.
I was on a webinar today with actually Joanne Lawrence, who's out of the SBA. Mike Heck gave the introduction, and what he said was that really we're expecting a push by the current administration to do a lot of like WPA style improvements in the infrastructure and just basically massive spending by the federal government. Is this something that you're expecting as well?
Oh yeah, we will. It's not going to really affect us per se. As a district office, this is just going to be more contracting opportunities that are going to be available to small businesses. And the Jobs Bill of 2010, those provisions are still true, and that hasn't been vacated. That requires large prime contractors to set aside, small business contracts, and they're held accountable for that. So, even if we have some major, typically what will happen is when the federal government launches on some sort of major program like this, it'll be given to some large primes because they have the capacity to do it. But they're going to be required by law to make subcontracting opportunities available to small businesses. I think, it just, as far as us in the district office, how it impacts us is that a lot of times these large primes, or if a contracting officer lets a contract out, they have a certain subcontracting requirement. They will come to us, and they ask us for pub-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, businesses that are in our economically and socially disadvantaged business development program, veteran-owned businesses. They'll come to us and looking for that. It's possible. We've seen this on a few occasions where we'll be asked by a agency or a large prime contractor to go out and actively look for people in these categories that they have to meet. And I'll just give you one example. Is when the VA hospital was being built in New Orleans, they were desperate to find any veteran-owned business that could do electrical contracting work.
Right.
And we, because that was part of their subcontracting plan. And so sometimes they'll do that, and we'll do that. We'll go out and we'll look for businesses that fit that category. But so there is some advantages to having those certifications, as you know, and as a marketing tool. So but we do it anyway. I mean, it's like a normal course of business for us to do this. Could we see a surge? Possibly. I'm not really expecting it, but we can handle it if it does happen.
Well, that was my point, is that a surge in federal spending by the government will rise all of the ships, right? And so, hopefully that will just continue this great economy that we have and continue the consumer spending that's going on. I'm really hopeful, as a federal contractor myself, I'm really hopeful that we see, just a big push to do some really big, infrastructure projects, especially
all I can say as an economist, government spending has a double, when you look at the macroeconomic model, has a double impact on gross domestic product. So, anytime the government's out there stimulating demand by spending money on certain things, then that has a doubling effect on the economy.
Yes.
It's definitely something that, I know that the current administration is interested in doing. Whether or not they get support from Congress to support that, that's why we have organizations. That's why we have Mike Hecht and GNO Inc.
Right.
Lobbying the small business community to increase government spending. Now I know that that's kind of can be a political football at times, but the simple fact is when the government spends money, the economy improves.
It does, and small businesses benefit from it.
Right.
The federal government was always my favorite customer because the money is in your account 14 days from the day you turn in your invoice.
Yeah. Quick pay was part of the jobs bill in 2010.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of. I talk about that bill a lot, but 2010, the jobs bill of 2010 was one of the single most important pieces of legislation for small businesses that's passed in this country in years. It's really there's so much in that, and it doesn't get a whole lot of press.
You hear about the Restore Act, but you really don't hear about that bill. No.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Well, awesome. Well, Mike, you've been really extremely helpful. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us today. And if anyone has any suggestions on what should be changed in the future amendments, I'm just going to go ahead and give them your personal phone number. Is that okay?
Get my address too, so they can come to my house. No, actually, my email address is the best way to reach me. It's michael.ricks@sba.gov. That's michael.ricks@sba.gov. Go to our website, sba.com. Look for local resources, and you'll find Louisiana. You can call us up. My entire staff directory is posted online. So if you want to reach me, that's my contact information. If you want to reach Joe, who's like I don't think anybody knows our certified programs on contracting better than Joe. All our BOS is Val Brumfield, is our lead lender relations specialist. She works directly with the banks, and a lot of times they will call her and ask her questions like, when we just had this, do we need to demonstrate that the loss in revenue is COVID related?
Right.
And what do I need to do? And then Val just kind of clarifies that. No, I don't know where you got this, or yes, you do. But yeah, that's how to reach us. That's the best way.
Yes, everybody at the New Orleans District SBA office is super helpful, and they're more than willing to drop everything that they're doing to answer the phone and help us out as business owners. So we appreciate that. Thank you so
great.
much.
Oh, no, it's no problem.
Thank you for joining this first episode of the second season of the Pulse of the Parish podcast. The audio recording is available on all major podcasting platforms. Links are available below. For more of our video recordings, the most recent upload is available here, or a video YouTube thinks you'll like is available here. We'll see you next time.